Ready, commissioners? You ready, Derek? Ready to go. Good morning, welcome to the November 17th meeting of the Raleigh County Commission. Please join in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There, yes, and we have some public comment. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm here on behalf of Reach to tell you who the Reach Committee nominated for the December Employee of the Month. This person was actually nominated twice, so I have two things to read here. So the first one was I nominate Michelle Adams from the Riley County Clerk's Department to be considered for Employee of the Month. The specific reasons was during the transition of the new payroll system, Paylocity. We have had many questions, concerns, and issues with the system. Michelle has been a point of contact for our office. Michelle always answers our questions with a positive, cheerful attitude and goes out of her way to help resolve the issue. If she doesn't know the answer, she tells you she doesn't know it, but we'll get the answer for you. She goes above and beyond her regular duties to assist with the transition of Paylocity. And the second one was Michelle's an exceptional employee. She is kind and considerate to everyone and helps wherever is needed without being asked. Michelle is very thorough in her work and will find things that others have missed. She is always understanding when letting anyone know that she or what she catches. Shows no judgment, only concern. She is a total team player and is always there for the good of everyone. She is an asset to Riley County in so many ways that one cannot list them all on a paper. I feel she deserves Employee of the Month due to her commitment, concern for others, caring, and extreme dedication to her job. And this dedication is shown every single day by Michelle without fail. I know my job would be more difficult at times without her. Exceptional work ethic, and exceptional people deserve recognition. Michelle is that person. We have to reach. I have a plaque for you, 2 movie tickets, and you will have a parking spot for a whole month. This time of the year, thank you. That's true. One more photo. Well, let's see if we can get a speech. Yeah.
Thank you.
Michelle, can you come up here? Yeah, thank you.
Getting that close parking spot and snowy months. Big smiles. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I was surprised. I think we catch on that one by now.
Well,
I don't know how you guys do that, but everybody's always surprised.
So I will say that, it's not like it's every whatever person.
Come on, you see somebody from
Always
the Reach Committee, we've been through.
I guess I always be suspicious when Darren or I.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to start bringing him in at the end.
Yeah.
Can we do this by executive session? Personnel.
Put it in mask.
Yeah.
That, any other public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, since I wasn't here Monday, I thought I'd let you know what I did last week. So, Thursday, the 10th, I met with several staff members and the planning department to identify and discuss additional lagoon sites for Keats. They came up with a plan that we haven't quite figured out yet, but I started my part of that plan. So Friday, I participated in the Veteran Day Parade and the program afterwards. It was very well attended and very cold, both for the ceremony and the parade. But, so I enjoyed the speaker, and they gave tribute to the Vietnam vets in the ceremony. Thanks to you for putting up all the barricades. Tuesday this week, I met with Clancy concerning several issues. I continue to review documents for the public safety headquarters, which I've never done the rankings on anything before, so that was a challenge. And I also got caught up with messages and appointment scheduling for next week. Wednesday, I reviewed paperwork for the law board special meeting that was held that afternoon. Meeting included an executive session to discuss a continuing process for hiring a new police director, Brian Pete. There will be more discussion at next Monday's meeting. There's a regular law board meeting, and it will be held in Ogden at the community center. So that's all I have.
John.
Yes, Monday afternoon, I think as everybody's aware, K-State had their annual ASU Unite conference, I think it's 2 day, over 2 days. I attended a separate part of the conference called Conversations with the Manhattan Business Community at the Bluemont Room at the Union. Boy, has the K-State Union changed. I haven't been up there in a minute. Oh, man. I actually got lost in there. I can't tell you how many times in school anyway. It has been a while, so I'll just but yeah. The first was an hour-long panel discussion with members from the local business community, as well as several people from the chamber. The chamber kind of did this. It's kind of a separate thing with DEI to try to, just incorporate the community into that conversation. I think it's going to go good at some particular point in time, but I don't think maybe they went about it quite the right way the first time here. So, and it just may take a while to get going, but the conversation was good. There was some people from ICE Corporation. There was a couple of people from the Animal Science Department. Let's see who else. Well, I should have remembered everybody and wrote all of it down, but there was about 6 or 7. It was a really good conversation. So after that, the second part was supposed to be a roundtable discussion that would have several facilitators, and they wanted me to facilitate one of those roundtables as well, to get some of the student base in there. So have a conversation about maybe what's good about the community, what's bad about the community, what might keep them here, what might not keep them here, so on and so forth. But nobody showed up. So I kind of moved to more of a network type session. And to be honest with you, that worked out very well too, because everybody that didn't really know each other had a chance to kind of connect and talk about some things. So all wasn't lost. I think they're just going to have to look at that through a different lens next time around, or maybe separate that from the actual conference and do it maybe separately or something. But it's good to start sometimes, even if it doesn't work as well as you might think it would. But glad I had the opportunity to go, and glad I was invited to it. So I'm glad I was actually able to fit that in on my calendar too. That might be worth mentioning as well. Tuesday afternoon had the monthly meeting of the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce, talking about the chamber. Amongst the items of discussion were an update on their almost year-end financials, membership accounts, which continue to grow. Approval on some bylaw changes, discussion and possible approval of a small business council, an update on a entrepreneurial proposal that it kind of had in the works for a while. I'm still trying to see that one through. And then a discussion on both membership to the State Chamber of Commerce, and then a plan and incentive for some local new office construction. Wednesday afternoon, chaired the monthly policy board meeting in Flint Hills NPO via Zoom. Items of discussion at that meeting were an update on their financials as well, which are really good at the moment. We're good and solid. Probably not having a full-time director throughout the entire year helped. There's also plenty of federal dollars that are flowing in that are going to help out moving forward. And Jared's got to hire his replacement as well. So lots of give or take. So our local match probably actually end up being less this year than it was last year. And I might continue that trend for a while. Let's see, what else did we talk about? KDOT gave an update as well on some of their working efforts. They're changing some of their personnel at this level too. So we're going to have a new representative for the NPO moving forward. We voted on an amendment to the local match amount in the Unified Planning Work Program for 2023, which is going to stay at that, capped at that 80-20. So we're getting 80% federal, and then all the other entities are providing the other 20%, and that's being capped, at least for 2023. And we'll discuss what that will look like moving forward. Lastly, we discussed the Title VI board appointments and what that can and should be mean for the NPO. And we'll probably meet one more time right before Christmas just to make sure we have everything finalized for 2022, because it's been kind of an up and down year, obviously. So Wednesday evening, made it back over to the city of Ogden for their city council meeting. It had been a while since I've been able to get out there because, well, Wednesday. So I took some time to update them on a couple of relevant things that are going on in the area, discuss some work and efforts and maybe a different approach to that D-chip application they applied for this last year, didn't get. Hopefully time will allow me to get over there a little bit in the early part of 2023 and help them work and facilitate a different vision for that. So with that, that's all I've got.
Well, after the meeting Monday, I met with Russell Stuckey. Someone sent me some questions again about some of the fire vehicles being relocated. And Russ talked about how the location of the various stations is being rearranged a little bit, and understand why it's all done. And he sent a response to that resident. I don't think they were happy, but they understand why things are done. Tuesday morning, I had a meeting with Flint Hills about the Flint Hills Regional Council. They've hired an outside consultant to review the organization. And so I met Jerry Lonergan, the head of it, had asked me to meet with him and meet with the consultant to discuss what I've seen as the problems with the group, which I thought was good. He said, why did we leave? And I said, I was really, when I said Riley, we left, but problems we've had, and also went over some of the things that they could do to going forward to keep it going better. Seems like it's interesting that they've done that to try to improve their outlook on things. So I'm optimistic, I guess. Then later Tuesday, the Flint Hills Veterans Coalition met to review the parade and ceremony of honor. Overall, thought everything went real well. They had the essay contest from the kids. They had more participants there than they've had in a long time. They had a couple of real quality winners, and there were several others they said that came in. And the parade went off, but 3 schools canceled because of the weather that morning, and the Army band couldn't be there because they were deployed to Hope.
Oh, wondering.
Yeah. And then the other the main business item was they're going through the process to change their 501c19 and changing to a 501c3. And I didn't understand all the legal, but it makes what they do a lot easier because there's more restrictions on the C19. So they're going to go through that. Wednesday, the North Central Juvenile Facility Board met.
What was that again?
Did they change their name?
They shortened it finally. The meeting's too, I don't want to drag out the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he's gonna be purchasing a vehicle to transport the youth, the doctor and dentist and such, because right now they have to hire someone and it adds up quite a bit through the year. And they had to buy vehicles specially equipped for transporting the kids that, secure back seat and all that. And then we all acknowledge the assistant director, who's retiring after 29 years working in the facility, and he's still done a great job. So we pulled him into the meeting to let him know how much everyone appreciated what he sent out. And then unfortunately, I was able to see firsthand how the fire department works yesterday afternoon. A house down the block, it's on the news that had a fire. Response was impressive. Living across the street from the fire station, I'm used to hearing sirens, but when there's sirens, and a couple minutes later, I hear a siren again, and then I hear a siren, I go, something's going on. And it looked like it was confined most of the attic. Sounds like they had some kind of electrical problem. I think is what the cause of it was. And everybody got out fine, and had the pets were out and everything. But those guys go to work when they get there. They were all going at it pretty well. It was impressive work. And that's all I've got.
You okay with taking Amy? It's her time and get on with business when we get a break.
Sure.
Our schedule's different today because
Oh,
start at 9, so 9:15 is Amy's time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But okay with the board?
Mine will be nice and short. Good morning.
Good morning.
Is it further down?
Yeah, it's further down. Yep, it is. You have to go through all the business stuff.
Page 26.
Yes, that's a right one.
I think you went too far.
Too far?
Yes, that's Shiloh's.
There we go.
That was more familiar.
Yeah.
All right, so basically, I'm presenting our revenue figures through November 14th at 3:00 with comparable year-to-date information from last year. As you can see, our mortgage amounts keep going up, but our other fees are going down. We're recording less documents for finally slowing down a little bit. You can't complain. And they're also
Yes.
still reducing the font and the amount of pages and mortgages, especially on, for whatever reason, the $1 million mortgages are typically much less than a normal home purchase. So our year-to-date revenue is down by a little over $200,000 from last year. If you look at our document count, we are at 6,900. Last year, we were at a little over 8,600, but we're still about 1,200 ahead of a typical year, which the last typical year was in 2019 at 57. So, just a reminder that any extra that we collect over 30,000 on Heritage Trust goes to the general fund. Shiloh made that transfer, I believe, the beginning of October, because we had met the 30, and she transferred $8,118. Basically, anything I collect October through December is the first quarter payment to the Heritage Trust Fund in January. So it's kind of off from our business year. Plats are still continuing to trend down. I'm seeing mostly, individuals platting one lot from a section township range. Let's see here. Staff is continuing to work on back file indexing. We're still working on rescanning some of our old books. Finding a little more time to cross-train employees as we have a little breathing room. Still tracking the daily revenue loss due to the filing fee and mortgage registration fee changes. And that loss to date is $1,478,895. I believe Clancy, you were Clancy.
typically is.
$1 billion.
He had suggested that maybe I put together a little chart or something showing what we've lost since the beginning of these new fees and the reduction of the mortgage registration until it was phased out. On the actual revenue loss column, that is 100% what we would have collected. It does not include any joint mortgages. It does not include any of the ag loans that wouldn't have paid that fee in the first place. And I've also excluded any questionable mortgage amounts. And by that, I mean, like last year, the mobile home parks, they filed 3 mortgages back to back, and they were each for $2.205 billion. I can't imagine that they were investing that much into each park. So totals like that, I just exclude. So our loss over the last 7 years is a little over $5.5 million. I did put in the joint mortgages, which totals almost another $3 million. I can't figure our share, and I haven't asked Shiloh to, work with these other counties and figure those out. But that is another potential loss
On top of the 5.5.
So those,
on top of the 5.5. Yes, these numbers are in the far right column are excluded from the totals in the first one.
the joint mortgages, it has $1.073 billion. Is that like from the mobile parks you were talking about? Or?
No, that's just mortgages. Yeah, I didn't include those in any figures.
But I'm just wondering why it's
Mhm.
$1 billion, over $1 billion.
Well, we have a lot of, construction going on. So like all these hotels going up and, that are millions and millions of dollars are all, and just various different things.
Does that include the taxable things that are going up or the non-taxable thing like, university? I can think of several other ones.
That part I can't say.
But is the key that if I'm reading it right, that 5.507, that's as tight a number as you can get because you're
That is
excluding
the-
those things that seem to you might artificially inflate the price.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So at the very minimum, we would have received that
Okay.
5.5 million. And then the other figures we would have gotten something. We just don't know what.
You're just being honest that you can't quantify that.
Correct. Correct.
So for this year, that's 2 mils you could have reduced
Yep.
the budget for the taxpayers. Just
off of
Just
the,
for this.
that doesn't include the city county revenue sharing, LABTR,
motor vehicle
special city highway tax, we used to have.
constraints with FB 13. Yep.
It's astounding.
No, it's Kansas.
I feel that it's a legislative
Yes,
council.
it's astounding. So if you want me
Put a
to
hashtag in front of it.
refine it in any way or.
I kind of like this.
Yeah, it was real basic, but it seemed straightforward.
Basic is good.
Any questions?
Yeah, I would say try to keep it as streamlined and simple as possible because this one, we're gonna have several new legislatures, so make it as easy and palatable as possible.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll never go back to the old fee structure, but I don't know. I just feel like.
A change, maybe a balance between the two,
Mhm.
something that. It's too much to ask for already.
I just want them to remember impact on it seemingly. When counties rise up and say, this is going to hurt us. They need to pay attention at the state level because we can show actual dollar losses. We're not guessing.
And it actually hurts the citizens as well.
Sure.
Because, it went from a one-time fee in their initial mortgage that was fairly invisible. It was just all part of the loan structure to, I mean, it's fairly expensive for some people to report something. You know, back in the day when it was $8 and $4 page fee structure, you could come file a document for $20-30. Now that same document is costing you $400, and the average person doesn't necessarily just have, especially since it's a lot of the elderly, you know, trying to come in and get things in order. They don't have an extra 400 laying around. So. Thank you.
Thank you. Ready for business, commissioners?
Yeah.
Get some in. First, need a motion on how we use permit granting Cox Communication Commission and right of way to replace 345 feet of CIC along Rocky Ford Avenue.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the highway use permit for Cox Communications.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the highway use permit, Cox Communications, all in favor?
Aye. Chairman, sign please.
Well, I'm gonna say that.
Next item I have, commissioners, need a motion to sign retail dealers to 2023 cereal and malt beverage license for Stag Hill Golf Club, 4441 Stag Hill Road, Manhattan.
Is that for special event or is that just in general?
Their annual.
That's what I thought. It seemed like that's about the right time. Okay. I make a motion to approve the retail dealers license cereal malt beverages for 2023 for Stag Hill Golf Club.
I would second that.
And we moved and seconded to sign the retail cereal malt beverage license for Stag Hill, all in favor?
Chairman, sign please. Next, I need a motion to approve 2023 Riley County and Pawnee Mental Health Services contract.
We'll make a motion to approve the 2022 Riley County Pawnee Mental Health Services contract.
I do have a question. The appropriation says $300,000 for 23 is a partial financial support. What's the other?
That's everybody at the other 9 counties.
The other
That's
nine
just-
counties.
That's not our
That's just
partial,
Riley
all of
County.
ours, but it's just Riley County's.
Okay,
We're partial.
partial,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
I would second.
It's
that.
the largest part of that, but
Yeah.
not all of it, yeah.
Yeah, second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the 2023 Riley County and Pawnee Mental Health Services contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All three sign please. Next, commissioner, need a motion to approve payroll and accounts payable.
I'm going to make a motion to approve payroll and accounts payable.
I'd second that.
Moved and seconded to approve payroll and accounts payable. All in favor?
Aye.
There's a couple of different formatted forms because of the new Paylocity system.
Okay. Yeah, it's quite a few more.
Yeah.
Commissioners, have any changes to the minutes? Take a motion if there are no changes.
I do not have any changes, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 7th meeting of the Riley County Commission.
I'd second that.
Did I get that wrong? 14th, sorry.
Yeah.
We can just double approve it. It's okay. Yeah. I think that's one that we.
Approval of
Right,
seven,
yeah.
okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the November 14th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Tentative agenda's look okay, commissioners?
I got two things.
You bet.
No, you go to your chair.
Okay. Well, on the, let's see which one it was. Oh, I guess it's on first. There's John Elman back with Lakeside Heights. Is that a public meeting again? Or
I believe that, yeah, it's a public meeting and
It's supposed
it's
to be a public hearing.
regarding the special assessments.
right, I mean, I know it's about, but I didn't know because it didn't mention it's public.
It's not a public hearing, it's just informational.
Okay, so they're not, because I think those people were here looking for their answers.
Well, they did send out some email notices
He noticed, oh, okay.
there because they're aware of people they want to be aware of what's going on.
Right, okay, that's what I'm just
Craig
making sure
admitted it.
that all those folks that were here.
So this is to answer all those questions, give us.
I can't guarantee
As many as we
received
could.
it or read it,
Yeah.
it was sent out.
Yeah, it's regarding the total cost that we know at this point, the grant funding we know at this point, and potential assessment rate at an estimated interest rate that we know at this point. So a lot of estimates, all based on what we currently know, but that's as good as we can get. No matter what the situation is.
The two things for me, just make sure we have enough time to get over to Ogden for the law board meeting. Around the noon hour, it's hard to get around town sometimes.
Yep, should have.
And keep in mind, I will not be here on the 28th, but plan on zooming in. And that's all I have. Clearly didn't simplify things, did it?
No, that's a first step. Here's the rest of it.
Well, I hate to tell you, but the object wasn't to simplify it for you, but for the staff administrative.
We were not told of this.
Feel stuff like that.
Yeah, we were not told of this when we approved it, by the way.
Didn't divulge it may cost an additional signature or two.
Dude, I think we're talking like double.
Sorry.
It's interesting. A few years ago, he said you were zooming into a meeting, that means you're getting might be late. But you're gonna-
Exactly.
So
That's what he was saying that about putting it in the meeting.
Any items for the press conference next week, commissioners? Okay, this time for Mr. Holman. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Clancy Holman, Riley County Counselor. I want to talk a little bit during my administrative time, just touch base about what just some housekeeping things for the annual legislative conference on December 12th. What I envision doing, as you might expect, is ask that the room be set up with those tables, much as you do identically, how you do it for city, county. We have a number of new members of the delegation. People could want some work surfaces, so it seems to me that's the way to go. And then we'll have seating around the perimeter as you do with those for anybody from the public who shows up or who is not a current member of the delegation. Because the intent is not to create a surface where anybody other than current members of the delegation have that discussion with you. And you can either sit at the table or at your usual location, wherever you want to be. But I've made it clear in the invitations I've sent out, this is a discussion between the elected members of the delegation and the board. And I'm only saying that out of over caution because I don't want there to be any confusion on anybody who receives such an invitation that they'll be at the table with the delegation. I think that will get too confusing. And I think it could also confuse the public about what's going on at the meeting. So just so you know, and if that's, unless you have some objection, that's how I'm going to ask that it be set up. I think there's some benefit to it. We will be providing lunch. Nothing fancy, probably a box lunch of some kind. And I will get you an agenda as soon as that's prepared so you can see it. And I'll bring that into a meeting between now and the 12th so you can take a look at it. There aren't any surprises. Because those items that were on the platform last year, those things that actually got as far as a bill, perhaps in the prior session, they died at the end of the session. So they're going to have to be introduced if they're in play this legislative session. So it'll be interesting to have a discussion with some of our new members and see if maybe one or two of them want to take a chance on sponsoring one of these items or assisting with sponsoring with some new items. Either of those things would be good. Nothing helps a bill's progress so much as having a sitting legislator who's championing a bill, as you might expect. So that's all I really had that I wanted to run past you and let you know what the plan is. And I'd be glad to answer questions you got on anything pending.
You said nothing fancy for lunch? I mean, I may not show up if it's not fancy.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
There's always a risk.
No, I'm
Just trying to be transparent about what can be expected. It won't be bad. It's just going to be simple.
peanut butter and bananas or something, probably.
Here's the bad news. I'm going to be fixing all the food now.
Oh, no, I'm definitely not coming. I seen what you've done to cactuses. I can imagine how you cook.
Yeah, really. No, just in case any of our delegation is, I was kidding about that. They're by a real restaurant. So, but that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, have been a break. Shelley Hager at 9:50 did want to talk a little bit about the Lakeside Heights water sewer issue. Unfortunately, very luckily for him, he's doing what I want to be doing this week, so he is not here to work on that issue, and he's sitting in a tree stand right now, which is where I would prefer to be. No offense, commissioners, but
Good that he can make it out there now.
No, we could make the motion to have a meeting in a tree stand.
Well, I mean, his
tree stands are small.
to get out there.
So that being said, but even if he were, the gist of it is he's going to come and give the commissioners a presentation, after he has time to put it together as soon as he can. When he gets back to work next week, he's going to start putting it together just to tell the commissioners the process that each individual has to go through. He doesn't know the soils out there individually enough, and each one could be an individual different solution in a nutshell. So regarding all the answers, Commissioner Ford, there's no way to do that until that testing is done by a licensed professional to do that. And we don't have that. So we can say, here are the alternatives if this happens on that property, if this is available, and there may not be any, and then it would require a variance approved by the board. So we can only give you so many answers at this point in time, and it's not for the lack of work or not wanting to do it. There just have to be processes gone through to accomplish it, and it takes time on that part of it. But the cost on assessments on what we know to put the wholesale system in, we can get you those estimated.
And that's basically what I'm looking at. I know there's a lot of underlying work, and there's already been underlying work, and come in here with expectation, and then you come in here and it's tripled or doubled or tripled, and we need to know the process as to how that got there and why, when making particularly the financial decisions that's required with this project or any project for that matter.
And I tell you, Clancy and I both have been through enough of these with Mr. Hobson previously, and it's all typically out in that area, or we've also had similar situations, Bridgeview Heights out by Randolph, and these areas need a wholesale solution. These were plats that developed in the 60s or so, for supposed housing boom around the lake, and they didn't have the planning and development process that we have now for lots that were big enough for alternative systems, lateral fields, lagoons, and wells. But now those people have built houses on them, and now we have all these rules and regulations they have to comply with, and those rules and regulations are expensive, and everyone wants it. But then they want it when we're developing, and then when they see the cost, they say, "Hold on, I'm backing out." And so that's what gets us into this situation of the delay and why it hasn't been accomplished, because Bridgeview Heights, section of our community that has the wherewithal to put the road in, we're all going to finance it up front. Let's get it done quickly. Okay, we're going to do that. Oh, all of a sudden they're backing out, and now they don't want to pay for it up front. So now we got to put the brakes. Highland Ridge, High Plains. And then all of a sudden we have to delay it because of financing.
Okay.
So that's how these things happen. It isn't the fault of staff.
And I never
Necessarily.
I never said that was actually the case, but from our perspective, we just need a little bit more depth than just here's where we started, here's where we're at. Well, I mean, what happened in between to get to that point?
But on both of them, and I know Plains, I know when commissioners talk to resident, well, they're wanting it done right. Well, that one may, and all of them may, but none of them want to pay for it right now or want an alternative way to pay for it now. So.
Well, I think one of the problems that we had was that bid dated like 5 years ago or whatever it was. If the planning department sees that you've got a bid that old, not rebid it, but at least estimate at what it could cost today, rather than just bringing it to us at those old numbers.
And it's not just a shock for us; it's a shock for those that are going to potentially pay for it, whether it's up front or through other process or other means.
If something is 2.5 times today what it was 5 years ago, well, give that estimate, and that's wouldn't be such a.
You don't know that until you bid it, though. Unfortunately.
It would be nice to have a cleaner, more efficient process for these things, so that we don't get into that 5-year period where it doubles or quadruples or triples or whatever. But I know that that's not reasonable to ask, so I won't.
These are never easy.
No.
We always used to tease the former public works director because his standard was that he would never do another benefit district, and he created more as he needed to do during the time he was here than he ever thought he'd end up having to manage.
They are work. I cannot tell you the amount of time us as a trio and planning and development have put on special benefit district projects. It is amazing the time that we have to go through. Sometimes they don't get accomplished. Perry is hoping to bring something to you by the 28th. He did email all this off for it. So he's hoping at least by the 28th to bring a presentation to the board. Even though he was on vacation, he did respond to a couple emails. Morning, Shiloh.
Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Great.
Good.
Starting to figure out a time that'll work next week for us to talk. We'll do something.
Week too. After 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
We'll figure something out.
I wish I could be here.
Oh, that's okay. The ones that are sitting, currently on the delegation, they're going to be aware of it because you already. I can't even remember. I can't tell you my name. I still don't know the names yet, and I haven't pounded in my head. I need the sheet of paper in front.
Sure.
It'll be a return of Senator Hawk, Representative Sidney Carlin, and Representative Dodson. They'll all be back.
It'll be Representative Titus, Representative Bloom, Representative.
How do you pronounce that? Is it offer? Isn't there?
Haverkamp.
Haverkamp.
It's with an A.
Okay.
Is it Haverkamp? Is that isn't because that's also
Yeah, he's got a sliver.
a little piece of it.
Yeah. And then the one out west here.
Well, you had them all. So I was impressed you remembered all the names.
Starts with a B. Want to place that in?
That's
It's not blue.
That's blue.
I mentioned that one. This is the Junction City side that kind of slides over into southwestern Riley County, out by the airport. It'll come to me in a minute.
Well, everybody ended up being invited.
Mhm.
It's right there,
Right.
right?
I've seen the yard signs out that way. I don't.
You know, how much you, well, hopefully, if we can get our bill pre-filed and get it, so. I'll let you know as soon as
Might ask Rich if the election's done yet.
I.
I just. Yeah.
I understand.
The most visible part is
The
done.
visible part.
It says. Dave Baker, that's the bottom corner.
Yeah.
That's what our GIS calls it.
Okay. I don't, he's replacing him because he didn't run again.
No,
He got the district right. He's a young
well, I
kid.
guess, yeah.
That's Gary.
Good morning.
Shoot, you
Doing well. How are
Yeah,
you?
we've got like.
Good.
I know Underhill is, it's the middle part of that, so that doesn't extend over, but
They got new lines. But
they haven't updated the, I guess that's because the election isn't done yet.
well, yeah, it's.
You're welcome.
That was pretty shameful. by your part. Pretty shameless.
I'm gonna have to give you a point on that one. I don't like giving you points.
I know you don't.
You would have really scored if he'd said, are they ever really done? Because you get started on the next one.
The truth about that.
I remember that when the city ones were in April. That kind of.
That was a tight timeline.
Crunch to you.
Was a tight timeline, but what's people across, whoever's working elections across the state is, it's quick, but then you got a bigger break in
Then you get-
between where you could have some breathing room, you know? And so that timeline was horribly tight, but it was nice to get that
Then you
break
get
in
break.
between, you know?
Now you just jump from one to the
Yeah,
next.
one to the other. There was a lot of reason behind the scenes on why that got moved in the fall.
I tried to make it even worse a few times.
Still not sure at the end, that's not, they're still their end game,
Yeah,
which is to make them partisan as well.
but all at the same time.
That was the behind the scenes, one of the issues. And a certain Secretary of State really pushed that as well, and now he's a new elected official in our state.
Well, that's what, when that was going on, that was. There were years
So
ago.
hold on to your hats.
I didn't want whatever committee that stuff was going through, that we got from loved ones on it. I called him to talk about it. I don't know who's pushing this. There's somebody. behind-
I didn't see him pushing that.
That was pushing, and he said, I don't understand it because I don't see it either.
Yep.
Okay, be there by then.
All right, good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Shiloh Hager, Riley County Treasurer with the October revenue report. The month of October it ended with a balance in the general fund of 23,464,121, which is 4.3 million higher than the amount that was in the general fund at this time in 2021. Our total fund balance as of the end of October is 65,887,519.98. That does include $14.2 million still left of our ARPA funds. Our investment interest to date through the month of the end of October is $455,677.68. And the amount of interest accumulated year to date on the ARPA funds is $124,361.21. The October bank statement showed a 3.67% interest rate. And we did invest some funds in October at a rate of 3.75%. We did complete the last tax disbursement in October, and our general fund revenue at the for the month of October was $988,450.61. That is 7.93% over what of the revenues that we had budgeted through the month of October. You can see here with that final making those final distributions, we did collect 101% of what was budgeted for motor vehicle, 161% over budget for vehicle rental excise tax, 102% over budget for or we collected 102% of the budget amount for RVs, and we were over 100% for commercial. Our ad valorem taxes, we collected 98, almost 99% of the budgeted ad valorem taxes as well. And year to date, we have collected 105% of budgeted revenues for the general fund. And I want to talk a little bit about sales tax. You can see here that we deposited $293,315.69, which it is over what we have budgeted for the month. If you remember, last month was significantly higher than we've seen. I did speak to the sales tax division, and there was an error, not an error, but there was a glitch in the previous month's reporting where they had left the reporting period open longer. So some of those transactions were included. So when you average those out, that's why there's such a big discrepancy.
God.
So that being said, we are still 23%, almost 23.3% over what we have budgeted year to date for sales tax revenues. Any questions about any of that? Just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that because there was a significant change from last month to this month.
Yeah, last month went way up and this one way down.
Right.
Then I saw your note that
Yeah.
missed it.
So year-to-date sales tax, we are 10.35% higher than we were year-to-date in October of 21. And when I compare October of 22 to October of 21, just for that month, it is down 18.72%, but that is also adjusted due to that glitch. Once again,
on use tax, you can see here that it did go down significantly compared to what it was last year, but it's hard to tell with that glitch in there that month, but anyway, still relatively stable. Things are just, I think we ended the year very strong. Some things just, as you all should be well aware, the tax statements did go out on November 10th. So we have already started seeing money coming in from that. People, we got a very large stack of mail in yesterday, and we have a significant amount paying online already. Anybody who has not received a tax statement by Thanksgiving, please give us a call. And we'll definitely make sure we get one sent out. Vehicle registrations for last names of T, V, and W are due by November 30th. Just want to make sure that I remind everybody that there are several ways you can pay your real estate and property taxes. We have obviously in person. We highly recommend that if you want to come in, make an appointment so that you get in and out and don't get stuck in our walk-in line behind, 10 or 15 titles and you're just needing to do a tax payment. You can pay online. And we also have a drop box on the front of the building that you can just drop it off in there as well. So highly recommend that you use all of those resources. And, we want to be very respectful of people's time. So we try to make that as an easy and I would say a painless process, but so yeah, that's what's going on in the treasurer's office. Any questions or?
I have a question, and I probably forgot this, but what the net interest earned, where do you put that? Do you just reinvest it or?
It just goes into the general fund. It's a budgeted revenue item. So right now, we had only budgeted 25,000 when we were working on the budget a year ago. And so all of that just becomes cash carry forward that you can then use to offset for next year when we're doing next year's budget.
Okay.
Basically reduces the amount of ad valorem you have to tax people for,
Right.
however much additional other revenues we get.
Yep, if we would have had our crystal ball working, we could have.
Well, and the federal government doesn't make us give them back the interest since those are ARPA funds.
No,
Okay.
they at one point, the CARES money, we weren't allowed to put that in an interest-bearing account, but the ARPA money, because we're going to be holding it, we get to actually use the interest that is earned on those funds.
Good. Just want to double check that.
Sure, no, not a problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else I can answer for you? Okay,
Thank you.
you're so welcome. We'll see you next month.
Sounds good.
Next Commissioner Gary Fike at 10 o'clock.
I'll go if I believe it, yeah. You can cover that for us. No, I don't know if I believe it. We're doing good. That's what I feel like. And that's yeah. Just spin it around what the accomplishment they got. Yeah.
They're saying it needs something to replace cyan. Need what?
Cyan, that's color. It's one of the or yellow.
But it's not printing colors, but Cindy's aware of that already.
Oh, she is, okay.
She said they were gonna get something for it. Nathan Butler is the other representative, by the way. He came to me. That's a 68 district, you know. There were 5 House districts and a Senate district in Riley County, a total of 6.
Gary, you ready?
Yes, sir. Somebody to all falls.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
Thank you for having me in this morning. I'm just going to have a general overview of what's been happening in extension for the last month. I missed the October meeting. I apologize for that. Other things. As you know, most of you attended the annual meeting that we had just here in November. We elected new executive board members and new program development committee board members. We also had our 4-H achievement night, which I know Commissioner Ford made it to, and we had a very successful evening recognizing our 4-Hers and our volunteer leaders.
Well attended.
Very well attended.
Very well.
I didn't get a count. I used to be pretty good at counting big crowds. I think we had about 160, 170.
Having a taco bar, probably.
And a taco bar did help. Yes, yes, it did. And I also found out, and John probably already knows this, that shredded cheese, when it gets dropped on carpets, is very hard to get out. Step on it later. Yeah, but anyway. We also have started the Medicare program, the SHIP program that Megan does, and she's meeting clients through December the 7th. She has already saved her clients so far. This was her answer as of Monday afternoon, $275,000 in prescription drug bills, which is great. Last year she was at $306,000. She thinks she'll go over that this year. She saved somebody $15,000 all by themselves. So she's doing a great job there.
I might bring my taxes up and have them done.
We did a farm show booth at the Grass and Grain Farm Show out at the Armory last week. And I think Commissioner McKinley made it to our child care program at Public Works on October 26th. We had a nice turnout for that, including some child care providers from out of county that came. I also do performance reviews of my agents and the office professionals, and those have to be approved by the board, of course, the executive board. Got all those completed. And then we also had a review by one of the federal agents with the IRS, came in from Wichita, and she looked at our facility and what we do, and we went over what we needed, and she's very, very helpful. And so we'll be gearing that up pretty quickly, because on December 13th, we will have what we call our meet and greet with our preparers, and provide them a light lunch, and then through the grant funds that we get, and do our first session of training in January. We'll have a couple of in-house on board with computers at the library to help work them through those scenarios, because there's a number of tutorials, if you will, that work you through returns that are fake, of course, but help you understand how that works a little bit better. Most all of our volunteers from last year are coming back this year. And on November 29th, I'm speaking to the KSU, I think it's the accounting club or tax accounting class in the College of Business, to see if there's interest by some college students that might be interested in getting some experience in preparing tax returns. So we'll be visiting with them and hopefully garner a few new volunteers from that. The new 4-H program year began October 1, so that's underway and should close up October 31st, although we'll have a few late ones. And Brandy is working on Book in a Bag program in schools. She's out to the schools all the time, as you know, with our school enrichment program. We had a Riley County Rural Economic Development Advisory Board meeting yesterday afternoon. We're still talking about childcare, and we're talking about farm transitioning. That's one of the other things that we're going to be taking a real hard look at. There's a program in Salina sponsored by K-State Research and Extension and Erie, Kansas, and also Colby, about the transition process from one generation to the next. And also linking up young farmers who don't have capital or who don't have parents or other family members involved in farming,
to kind of adopt them, if you will, and buy on contract farmland, cattle, machinery, and those kinds of things. So that's going to be a good program. I want to host one of those here in Manhattan next year if they'll let me do that. They only do so many of those. And then tomorrow we're having a financial trivia luncheon, just fun stuff for county employees up in the second floor meeting room of the county office building. And just decided to do that. I think Elizabeth has said something about we can do some of those kinds of lunch and learn programs. So I've got that lined up. And also starting the new year 2023, I'm teaching a UFM class on household finance again. We have training of our new VITA volunteers, and we also will be doing our rural revitalization conference on February the 22nd, probably in Randolph. I haven't lined up that facility yet, but I've already started working on speakers for that program. So we're looking forward to that. That's been a very successful and very well attended program that we do. So I want to ask you first if there's any questions on any of what we talked about, and I've got one little addendum if I have time. Okay. I got a call from one of the Parks Department employee who works out at Potter Fall. And I don't know, in the past, some of you are probably aware and some of you may not be. Back in the 1990s, there was a big excavation program underneath the west side of Potter Hall. The floor had been sinking, had been cracking. So they went in there, cleaned that all out, I think rebuilt it, repoured it, put new tile down. And I don't think there's so much of a problem with that. They didn't find anything, but on the north wall, and I don't know if it's all related, but on the north wall, and it's all cinder block, about every 18 months, they have to scrape and repaint the inside and outside. The paint bubbles off. So there's a moisture or a gas or something in there that's forcing that out. We don't know where that's coming from. And I'm wanting to have a building inspector or someone who's qualified to look at the structure and see if they can find out what's going on. The other concern is that the floor in the clover room is sinking. And there's a crack above the wall that divides the clover meeting room with the kitchen. And that door is going to not fit before too long. So there's some structural things that need to be looked at least and examined. And I contacted one building inspection company to see if they'll work with us on getting something looked at. But just as a reminder, I think that building often gets looked at as our building, and it's not. It's a county building. Obviously, the county owns that. The Fair Board pays all the bills for the paper goods throughout the year. It's not just the fair, but all the other events, and over 200 events are booked there every year. So I think it's time. I don't think it's going to fall down tomorrow, next week, or even next year, but I think it's something that we're going to have to take a really hard look at, and what it's going to need for modifications or structural changes or whatever into the future. So
now that floor that's sinking, have you looked at, you probably want an inspector that will have to pay.
yes.
Another alternative would be to have one of the mud jackers people to come in and look at it, maybe give us a free evaluation.
And apparently, and to your point, they did mud jack that floor.
Did they?
Several years ago, and it's sinking again. So I don't know if we're sitting on top of some big hole and there's a bunch of, elephants buried in there or what, but there's something that seems to be giving way, and we don't know what that is yet.
Had you visited with John?
Yeah.
I just visited with him now. I just got a call from Jeff last week, and I said, we need to, I'm going to try to see if this building inspector will do it gratis since it's a county building, but otherwise I want to see what they're at least going to charge. But I'm not going to authorize it unless the county decides they want that, approve that charge. But I think it's something that we're going to have to take a hard look at.
Yeah, I mean, that's something John's gonna have to be intricately involved in because it's gonna be coming out of the county funds is where that's gonna be paid for. And John is in charge of all county facilities, so.
I'll let you know how much it is. We'll take a look. But
I'd take a look at it first before we go that route, but if we need to go that route, then we have to go that route.
okay,
a good idea to get a few opinions
okay,
because it's been an issue before.
Yeah, if that ain't just like I say, there's water getting into that
yeah,
somewhere, might be.
somewhere. Might be the roof.
Yeah, it should comes down through the block.
And I think before John's time, Jeff was saying that they had replaced some of the mortar between the cinder blocks before because it was crumbling. And
I think they did that when they put that sidewalk in over there on that end, didn't they?
Could be, I don't remember that.
It's been a while. It's been a while. It's 6-8 years or so, but I think I remember them had a tarp or something over that. They were doing this. They may have been doing that at that point.
Okay, any other questions, thoughts? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You. 10:15 commissioners, you have Mr. Kurt Mold.
All right.
Good morning, Kurt. How you doing?
How are you, sir?
Awesome. Good.
I was.
As we all were.
Things just changed. Well, then. Now you're incredibly. Nice try. I haven't applied to your text message yesterday, did I? Yeah. Oh, yeah. How can you be so busy? No, just doing two people's. So. I never did mine very well. Actually.
It's funny you see that, yesterday about the dispatch. Oh, yeah. We were talking with IT when we said.
Really?
Seriously, yeah, we were on a call with IT. It's like, man, you couldn't have that any better. So, but yeah, they came to that same conclusion. That they're, because
The same. And it's kind of an assumption, which realize that you can't do.
right. So, but no, but we're waiting on Tyler to get back. So that's what they came out of their meeting yesterday was. Need to meet more, but yeah, we were tired of that because it'd be kind of moved to do anything else with that.
How you doing?
We were commissioner board, yeah.
Oh. Okay, I got your email. Good, okay.
Yeah.
I'm putting it on my calendar.
Very good.
That's not.
That's not that.
Yes.
So Josh.
I'm well, how are you?
Good.
Heavy hitters. Yeah. Evening. But so.
Give you guys these now, just
Handouts.
you'll notice the very unique way I staple these.
That's good.
Thinking that was the front, and so
Just trying to challenge us.
yeah, something like that. So
Kurt, I've got something for you. Oh, give that to Aaron. I think you left it in the hard drive of the last meeting.
oh, Aaron, yeah.
Or I think it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you heard about stapling it that way before?
Yeah. So that's kind of good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
kind of good.
And you have one.
Give me a sense, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Just comparing,
comparing numbers, I do not test on that at all. All right. Well, Kurt Mulder, interim director of Riley County Police Department, for the RCP update. Like you've seen there, I've given you our crime analyst, our criminal intelligence units report there, just about crime stats that we do each week. This will be in our law board packet next week. So I wanted to bring it to you guys and show you, just kind of highlight. The last time I met, we talked about FBI had released their stats, and we've consistently been under the national as well as Kansas crime rate for 19 years. I think comparing internally is what's going on with this one. Our part one crimes for October were 46% below the 5-year average for Riley County. So we're just comparing ourselves to ourselves, and then 35% below October of 2021. So just compare this month to last year, and then projected by the end of the year, we should be 21.2% below the 5-year average. So pretty excited about that. And that's in all areas of the part one crimes. So I think just to me continues to show the efficiencies and effectiveness of a lot of the programs that we're doing. Especially we like to highlight intelligence-led policing and trying to use officers and our resources in a wise way based on statistics and crime data. And I think it's showing it's continually being effective and a good use of officers. What had been up were preventable traffic accidents. We've been seeing that kind of go up and down. So we started to really reinforce and focus on our ARC program, or that's the accident reduction program we've got going on, in where we are focused on our traffic enforcement. You know, you can sit out on any road anywhere and enforce all kinds of traffic violations and not necessarily reduce accidents. And that's certainly not what the public wants, not what we want, not a goal. The goal is to reduce accidents that we can prevent. And non-preventable ones are obviously things that are weather related or animals, et cetera. So we're measuring the preventable accidents here. And they were down 17.7% from the 5-year average. So that's good because we're starting to see an increase on that. And ARC is a good program too, because it's taking into account, we did research with K-State, with what the community wants us to pay attention to as far as traffic enforcement, but then also what are the top 5 causes of accidents. Again, not just because the community wants us to enforce certain things, are we going to do that? But what the community wanted also matches with what are the top 5 causes for accidents, which is really what we want to enforce. And that's what we've been doing. Part of that too is also where officers are more than just a traffic stop. They explain the reason for the stop, explain the reason for the citation, and the specific attention we're paying. Because, you know, traffic stops are never a positive experience for anyone. And we want to try and make that, help them understand, you know, this isn't a revenue raising thing. Obviously, RCPD doesn't get any money out of this. And that's usually a lot of the accusation, or for other reasons. We're doing this to try and prevent accidents. And I think this shows that focusing on those specific ones are being productive. Moving from enforcement as the holiday season comes up, we're just want to highlight the annual community engagement activities that the police department's involved in. First one is the Tip-A-Cop, which is coming up on December 6th from 5 to 9. December 6th from 5 to 9 at Texas Roadhouse. This is to raise money and awareness for the Special Olympics, something that the police department is pretty involved in. We also have the torch run that we do every year to raise money. This is where we have employees from the police department help with wait staff during that time frame. Make sure your drinks are filled, you get enough rolls, and then we're also asking for donations for Special Olympics during that time. And it's been fairly successful every year and a great time for employees while they're out there. And so we encourage people to come eat out at Texas Roadhouse on December 6th and consider a donation to Special Olympics. Then also Cops and Kids. This is hosted by the FOP every year. This is where it's kind of what was the old shop with the cop. That was trademarked, so we couldn't call it that. But it's where we take kids out to Walmart, raise money for that, and ensure that kids that maybe weren't going to experience gifts at Christmas time this year would do that. So goal is to have 75 kids about that we reach each year. Right now we have enough money raised for 15. If you remember back in the day before we allowed beards at the police department, we did the no shave November, things like that, where employees could pay a certain amount of money to be able to grow a beard, and it was donated to Special Olympics where they got people to sponsor. Well, that kind of went away, so we're continuing to find ways to get employees to donate, motivate them, as well as ask the community and anyone that wants to support that effort, because it's been very successful every year. And it also provides great positive contact with the police department and the youth in our community. So it's not just helping Special Olympics or helping those kids, but I think it creates a positive impact in them and their lives with us. Then we're also still pushing that community survey that we've got out there. It's been open since October. We'll end at the end of December. Very successful in getting people to respond. We have about 1,000 responses so far, which I think will give us a good wide range of input from the community. We use the questions that we've asked there to help us in our planning cycle in the following year. So I want to continue to encourage people to do that. I've got cards for anyone here that has the QR code that you can go to take that. You can also find it on our website. We have stickers at various businesses throughout the community. We send it out through mailing through the USC 383 school district. They send it to all the parents out there. They have obviously a wide reach there. So we're doing everything we can to get it out to the community to take that survey. So I want to continue to encourage the public to take that survey. And then always want to hit that we're hiring. We're doing okay in the law enforcement, the SWORD side and dispatch, but we're still critically low in corrections. So we want to continue to encourage people to apply to the police department to consider a job in corrections, especially with our elevated numbers, average daily population being high. That's continues to be a critical need we have. So I kind of went through that fast. Sorry.
No.
Any questions or comments from the board? All right. That's easy. Thank you. Dave, do you have any?
I've got comments, but I'm not gonna share them.
Wow.
You asked the question. I do have a card that you can use to apply.
Busy bit now.
And Kurt, would he get an interview? Kurt, would he get an interview?
Pardon me?
Would he get an interview?
Will he get an interview?
Yeah, I don't even need one. You just hire me right on through.
Well, we'll see you guys.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Next, commissioners, at 10:30, we have the construction management at-risk phase 1. Mr. Ellison, I think we're gonna set up some tables, change the format.
He brought the tables in right there.
Oh, God.
We do it.
You see it, thanks for coming. Oh, we're just gonna kind of change the layout a little bit here. Yeah, I'm not sure, but maybe a square.
Well, the plan was we use the possibility for us.
Oh, okay, sounds good, sounds good.
If we want to do the different.
How did you come?
Just set them in front of the wires there.
John, you'll like this because he's Mr. Hobson, that one day he come in and said, you know, I really want to get some stackable chair in the commission room. And I said, look at this. Come in the office. Did he?
Speak a seat wherever you need.
Kyle and I were the only ones who got the attire memo. Kyle and I were the only ones who got the attire memo.
Oh.
That was neat.
Yeah, I don't want to inject it, but yeah. We'll get it figured out sometime.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
So you have this. It's like that. Important language. Here. It's toxic. It goes through. One job he would down. But they're also after that. That's an outside. Okay. Just want to let you know where it's coming from. Okay.
You're taking David's seat there.
You knew who they said.
I get it. Something better looking, let's go on and
And so traffic wasn't bad. No. Yeah, this is John's car, stop down there, little water. It says, yeah, voice. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, Russell.
Morning. Let's see. Some of your guys at work yesterday down the block.
Yep.
And Harwood showed up and they made him go sit in the truck.
Thank God.
I love that guy.
I know.
Good guy.
He's a good guy.
But he didn't need to be out there.
Right, well, sure. Yeah, that's what, I heard him on the radio, I'm like.
He just had sort of bring.
Oh, it is a thing. Yeah. And you have the engineer. Well, I have.
Great, our way. Right, Commissioners, John Ellerman, Public Works. Today we're talking about the construction manager at risk. We sent out the request for qualifications. They closed a few weeks ago. We received 5 packets of qualifications from 5 different companies. So the way this process works, we're in phase 1 to review the qualifications of each of those firms. We need to pick at least 3 to move on to phase 2, which is another packet of proposals, and then phase 3 would be interviews with those 3 firms that we choose today. The idea today was that in with the packets, I gave you a score sheet for each firm as you go through the packet and score how you feel comfortable. And then the idea is now is to get the scores and bring them in here to see who comes up with who ranks the highest in these, and then we can discuss, or we can discuss all at the same time how we want to do that first discussion. I'll leave that up to you how you want to do it. In the past, we've filled out scores and then had discussion on how those do, but we can make that discussion if you still need some idea how you want to score for each contractor. The 5 contractors were BHS Construction, Icon Structures, Kindle Construction, McCown Gordon, and MCP Group. And those were the ones that submitted packets. So table discussion is open for however you guys want to start this.
I don't know, do we want, like, they turn in all the scores, or we're gonna discuss the midterm scores, or what?
I didn't necessarily score it just yet. We've got 5. You said we're narrowing it down from 3 to 5.
From 5 to 3.
Okay.
And you do have to have 3 under the statute.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I made a whole lot of scribbles on my sheet, so.
That's probably a good thing if you.
You know, it's however the board wants to do it. We've done it varying ways, but you know, us with staff and the professional have unlimited power of recommendation.
Well, that's what I want to hear first. to
Ultimately
see-
get to make the decision. So I don't know if you want everyone to, you know, just say their top 3 or top 2 or top 1, or everyone can do their top 1, and we can, based on who's in that top 1, or if the commissioner just wants to discuss your top 3, we can do it that way. Because ultimately, like I say, the commissioners get to make the decision.
We
And
could go 3 to 1, but settle on three.
I want to hear from staff first and to see if my thoughts are matching up with that, because
Do we want,
ultimately you guys are the ones that are going to be using the facility. So
do we want to discuss each contractor individually? Say, okay, everybody discuss. It's on the top of my, go through one, is that what we want to do, or?
Just going to say, when we were going through this process, the committee really liked how Kyle wanted to be heavily involved in this process. Their firm works with all of these different types of companies throughout the state. So they have some knowledge from either directly working with them or from peers that have worked with some of these companies potentially. So myself, when I would evaluate it heavily on the professional that has maybe dealt with some of these companies. I don't know if you've worked with any of these that have presented these proposals, but someone that has worked directly with them, I'm gonna put my scale is gonna weigh heavily on that, other than just what I see on documented paper, which is kind of like when you get an application for an employee, it only tells you so much.
And Kyle, where are you from?
He's with our
What's our commitment
consultant.
and we're located in Lenexa.
And
You've seen him on the screen without a beard. That's why.
Right.
it came in disguise.
it's getting a little chilly out there. A little chin warmer doesn't help there. Well, I can tell you, I kind of narrowed my down to 3, but I didn't rank it like a 1, 2, 3. I just got to that point.
And I had 1, 2 were easy, and I've got a third question.
Okay.
I had 1, 2, 3. But,
Yeah, and that's why I didn't have. Just as full disclosure, I just want to let Clancy said it's not a conflict, but I have, as a subcontractor, I've worked with BHS and Callan Gordon. My brother was project manager for Kendall. He doesn't work there anymore. My son's brother-in-law is the number 2 on the list of Callan Gordon on the list that showed us. And I've known Wayne Sloan for 40 years. So, that won't affect my thing, but let everybody know that, because I've been in the business, I know these people.
Yeah, and that's the point, you're doing the right thing by disclosing it. And as long as that your representation, that's not going to affect your judgment, that's exactly what you need to do. So,
Like I say, I just wanted to get that out. And I'd made a list, started making a list. Oh, I've got contacts here and here. Do we want to just start with whatever, I guess, BHS on the chart, BHS is the first. So start through you guys. What was your thoughts on BHS?
With BHS, my thoughts were, I thought they had good recent experience that is diverse. I appreciate their approach and capability to break down, and I thought they gave good examples. And their bonding was fine. Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing as Dave said. I didn't really, I saw about the same things.
Yeah.
Not a ton to add. I appreciated that their references were local and that they actually had letters of recommendation.
Yep.
I enjoyed, I don't think they had page numbers, but it was the page that started with like no 2 projects are alike in bold.
Yep.
It had a good graphic that detailed some of the similarities between what we're asking for in our facility and facilities that they've built recently and locally. So I thought that was both a good demonstration of references and a good demonstration of relevant experience.
Yeah, I thought they did a nice job of selecting past projects that fit certain elements of this project to try to illustrate that they had relevant experience, and they really emphasize experience in construction manager at risk. So I had them in the top 2.
And then there was, because we weren't calling references, did anybody, nobody called it for references?
No, we
Just using what was
this time. We were going to do it after the next one, because then we can have we can ask you some more direct questions.
right.
So,
But the references raised in basically, who they have, I guess.
right.
What's your thoughts?
They were in my top 3.
Yeah, they were in my top three. I've known Wayne Sloan forever too, so.
Yeah, who hasn't in this town?
And I really like their presentation. I like that they've been in business since 1965, which was longer than any of the others. That they, I like their references, the letters that they gave and their financials. So they're really top, one of the top three.
And mine, looking at it, like I said, and one of the things is they do have capability to bid some of the packages themselves. Again, it'll be still a sealed bid, but they have done a lot. They've done a ton of work in Manhattan. Large projects, they're the ones doing St. Isadore's that big project right now. And like I say, they've done schools. They did Riley School recently. Like I say, they were my top two. I had two, and then wasn't sure.
Okay. Like I said, I had three, but I didn't rank them 1, 2, 3. They were just three.
Yeah.
And this was one of them too. And I can tell you from my point that is local, they're very heavily involved in community things that provide adequate and critical services, which this is what we're building for. So, they'll take a communal approach to that. And their list of projects here were varied, but as mentioned, each one of them has a collective piece to what we're trying to do and how we're trying to accomplish it here. So, and I've known Wayne and went to school with several of his children along the way too. So there's also that. So
You guys said most of it. I maybe be the negative guy on the room. You said he mentioned little pieces of each one of their reference or the projects that they referenced. Because of any one, or they didn't show too many, a lot of schools and hospital type stuff, not a lot of fire station type stuff or dispatch centers. Not saying they can't, they show that they have that ability, they good construction. They are visible around town. They do a lot of projects around town. One of my thoughts was, do they have enough staff, crew are they available enough to get in and do the project when we need them? And of course, this is months down the line and then things will free up, and I'm assuming that's where they're at with stuff. So
I've had that same concern, but to be honest with you, I've had that same concern with everybody.
well,
Absolutely.
and so, I kind of, the way I went through that was project experiences are that they showed the management styles. They had a good layout and explained really well what they did. Their financing is pretty strong.
Yeah.
And they show that in their reference letters, and their references were people we knew and local. And so they were actually my top 2 and 3, one of the top 3.
All right. This next one is Icon.
So I did have VHS in my top 3, so I didn't mention that. So Icon, I thought they explained the construction phases pretty well. They kind of laid it out, and I appreciated that. I did not feel like they had the relevant experience that some of the others had for us for this project. And then a point that was a concern to me was the point of contact for us would be the COO of the company, and it wouldn't be the person who's in charge of not the project superintendent. So that kind of stood out to me, and I did not like that. I want to be able to talk to the guy who's got the boots on the ground. So that was a negative in my mind for them.
Another $20.
$20. Man.
That party's looking better and better every time it shows up.
They didn't tell you they're having somebody call you.
David.
Just keep an eye on Rich.
Yeah, again, pretty similar to David, that, the experience, I had them at 5.4 rated.
Do they have anything to add that kind of hasn't already been said?
I also had them 4.5, mostly due to what's already been said, and I think a little more specifically, the scale of the relevant experience didn't match what I envisioned for this project.
That seemed like a lot of the relevant experience was really the experience of their CEO under a former employer, rather than a firm. I could not find where they answered the question about current claims and lawsuits. So if you were to go forward with them, I should recommend that be answered. Their bonding is kind of adequate, but they didn't have a bank letter, which I don't know that we specifically asked for a bank letter, but the employee provided that. So I have kind of a tie for third, and I don't know mine. Tie for third.
Yeah, some of the comments that everyone made.
Yeah, I had them at fourth. They haven't been in business that long as a specific firm. They had individual firms, but as far as they're doing some business in town. I haven't seen completed projects at this point, but same kind of thing financially, and it was something else. Bonding, I thought it was kind of low, and it wasn't as good as some of the others. That's about it.
Yeah, mine was the same thing. I mentioned that the bigger jobs that they had experienced were from the top two guys when they worked for G. Johnson, which is a very good company, but that's not this company. Say it, and I'd say, I guess they joined with someone else. The icon was Trinium here, which has been around for a while. Never know then, but it doesn't, or it didn't appear that Icon themselves had done any CM risk projects, and it looked like they were done, but the guys in charge have done them other places. So that's my thoughts.
I listed them at 4 too. The bonding issue was very vague to me, and I noticed they didn't do very similar type of projects either. And then your comments, David, kind of reconfirms that. So I think they feel they're capable of doing the project. They just don't have a lot of experience in this process, and this is a very specialized facility, and I think that we need very specialized professionalism moving forward with it.
After going around all of it, it's about the same number. Again, lack of relevant relative experience. I've seen their vehicles around town, but not seen the project themselves, other than seeing what they have listed as reference projects. Financials were like in the middle of the road, or a little lower than most of the references or rest of them. I kind of looked at their references. They are all local and people we've seen it. They've done some high profile projects, but not something like ours. So.
Next one was Kendall.
Okay, so I had Kendall in one of my top 3. I thought they had very good recent experience. And the things I liked about it is they've done offices, and then they've done some other things that bring that home feel to it that we want for like the crew quarters and such. So I liked that they could do a little bit of both. So versus, if we're not building just an office building, we're not building a house, we're doing a little bit of both. And I liked that they kind of had a little bit of both. So, and I appreciated their explanation of their project approach, and they broke it down pretty well on how they would go about that project approach. I was comfortable with how they kind of explained themselves and what we would be able to expect from them. So
I didn't see, like David, they did the office stuff, but I haven't seen where they did it.
Well, they have like daycares and such, so,
Well, I
Yeah.
didn't say they haven't done like
but,
the apparatus, but yeah.
right, no, they haven't. So, but.
So I haven't really tried for 30.
So yeah, they're in my top three as well, and again, not a ton to add, but like David said, I appreciate their project approach. And honestly, I kind of appreciate that they outline the change order process, because we know that that's probably going to be the thing, so.
And they did not make my top three. I think maybe I was kind of stuck where Russell perhaps was. I didn't connect some of the relevant experience to I think what I'm looking for out of this specifically.
They're another one that I couldn't find where they answered the claims or lawsuits, but their bonding is lower. They did seem to have relevant and big enough experience, but their project approach right up. I did know the part about change orders, but overall I scored that one lower than some of the others. So they fell out of my top three.
Agree with everything said. I like that they had such a high percentage of actually their staff are working on the project, but I thought they fell short on the financials and light projects. And the size of the company was a concern. I don't know the total volume of their projects, but definitely from financials and everything and staff mentioned it seems like they're on the smaller end.
I had them in the top three. I like the idea that they talked about having a local job site supervisor. And that they are, well, and that they are, no, I'm sorry. They seem to have, like you were saying, not a lot of emergency facilities, but they have done, the Stormont Vale clinics and working on the Manhattan campus. Yeah, so I mean that's a big facility. So those kinds of things are good experience because we do have quite a bit of medical as well as so anyway, that's all I have.
And I had similar things that I'd say, not directly, but there is some medical tie into what they're doing in the hospital. And had good experience. Like I say, their bonding seemed low. Which that was a concern. That was a little bit of a concern. That the bonding versus what the side of the projects they've done doesn't match up, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
That was my concern.
I had them in my top three. But part of it is because they are working on medical facilities, and I've had the chance to tour Topeka and get a well thought out discussion on facility that's being built in Manhattan. So I know the specialties when it comes to emergency services and how you apply that to building and structure is obviously very important here. And I'd like the general focus and development of that behind it. Was concerned about the bonding as well. And I didn't think about lawsuits or that potential on any of them. So that's why it's good to have that discussion. So that didn't play into any one of my decisions here, but thought they may be a little bit on the smaller end. But I thought, when you have several projects instead of a large scale amount of projects, sometimes you can prioritize your focus and vision on each one of those, and maybe you get more out of that, which is the thought that I had. But I did have them in my top three.
Big comment were the not relatable project experience. That's where I've seen most of my scoring or thoughts process was, and the financials. That's where a lot of that line is. They did not make my top three. One of the things that stood out to me was the amount of work they said they would do with their own crew instead of subbing it out.
And
can be good or bad.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean,
Especially in this environment.
I would expect them to bid those scopes on bid day against others rather than
Right.
assuming they're going to do it themselves.
Well, and that's what we,
kind of way we laid it out.
that's something we laid out that we will require. them to if they bid, if they want to do some work, they have to put in the bid just like anything else. Next one is from Callan Gordon.
Okay, so McCall Gordon is in my top three. I thought they had out of all of these, the best relevant experience. But it's very diverse. Looking through the packet, I really felt like they spoke our language. And I was relatable to me. I thought that they provided a good team layout. This is who we are. This is how we're going to go about the project. I felt just reading that packet, that was the one I felt the most comfortable with. I want to know more. You know, I like what I see. I want to know more. So.
Yes, they're tied for my top. In the top three, and I think Dave said they got a lot of experience on emergency facilities, just like.
They were in my top three as well. Not a ton to add, but I like that they have public safety experts.
Yeah, also in my top three, and to reiterate what Adam said, when we were going through like the same process for the design firms, I think our images stood out because we felt like they spoke our EMS language. I felt the same thing. It just the relevant experience fit what I think we have in mind, and the words and the language used fits with our system.
Yeah, I think they listened well, things that they had heard in meetings that, and I should say that I've worked with McCown Gordon in their Kansas City office and work in the Westport area of Kansas City. I have not worked with their Manhattan office, but yeah, they're my top three.
Top three, like the proposal, like the size of the company, seems like they can handle it, relevant experience to like similar type facilities.
Yeah, they are in my top three too. I like the idea that they talked about cost options that would give us cost savings that they would provide. I like the idea that they're 100% employee owned, that they have an office here. They did talk about litigation, they had minimal litigation, arbitration and mediation, and they had one pending lawsuit. So they did address that. And then, their public safety records, building public safety centers, I thought was a big plus for them. Financials were very strong. They talked about value of partnerships as an advisor, and they have a lot of repeat clients, that kind of thing. So they were in the top three.
I agree with everything else. And they've done a lot of projects just in Manhattan already, just in a short time here. It's a large company, has a lot of experience, a lot of well qualified people there. They're my two.
I would probably tell you, like I said, I didn't score a 1, 2, 3 out of my three, but the relevant experience in public safety type infrastructure and buildings, head and shoulders over everybody else. But they also have a long tradition of the construction management at risk and really know what they're doing with that. So through that process, that should be a value and benefit. They had people on the ground, boots on the ground here. I think that's really, really good and really, really important through this process too. If I was scoring 1 through 3 out of the 3 that I have right now, they'd be far and above number 1.
A lot of the same things to do because my son-in-law is a new employee for them. He's a lot of labor, so he won't have any decision making ability there. But he does work for the firm. I told him he couldn't work on the project. So, yeah, projects experience, financials, their approach to the construction management,
and your experience with that were all what leads them to be, that was probably my top contractor for sure, top three.
The last one, MCP.
MCP was not one of my top three. I thought they had some relevant experience, but they didn't have a lot of recent relevant experience. That stood out to me. They, especially when compared to the others, but part of the packet, I thought they failed really to discuss project approach and management capabilities. They left a lot to be desired, in my opinion, and their approach and how they were doing. And I really thought their packet was more of an overview. It was more of a, not what I was expecting, what I was looking for an RFQ. So they were not one of my top three.
Yeah, I echo most of what David said. And they were not my top three.
Yep, not in my top three either, and yeah, I completely agree with David, it just felt more like an overview, here's what we can do, but no real specifics.
I agree. I should say I've worked with their predecessor firm, the Person Construction. We did the Fort Riley Veterans Cemetery up at the airport years ago or something like that, a long time ago. Again, I was really surprised and disappointed in their project approach section. There's not much there, but not much information, and they also left out anything about claims and lawsuits.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with everything, and they weren't my top three.
Well, I thought it was kind of strange. They only had one person showing their director of pre-construction, and they didn't show anybody else as far as a team who else would be working with them. And they, were really broad as far as not talking about how they would handle the project, and a lot of older experience. They started in 72, but it looks like they reincorporated recently. So in 18. So I had them at the bottom of my list.
And like I say, in their experience, it doesn't say any of those jobs were seeing like this. I thought, and for lots of reasons, they were bottom.
I would say out of the five, they were probably number 5, and that was just, there wasn't a lot of depth behind that. I didn't really see what they had, any kind of public safety experience in particular, and didn't really get a good overview of how they would take on that process. And I didn't see anything on the construction management at risk side. I mean, for us, this is a facility that's going to have to be built and used for generations to come. It's got to be done right up front. And there was several other red flags I just didn't have answers to. So.
Thank you. It didn't make the top three. The project experience was dated. The references, nobody local. Yeah, I mean, are within the area that I recognize names on.
I don't know what the next step we want to in these number things, or we want to do 1, 2, 3 and see.
Well, just from discussion, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone's perception, but it seems like BHS and McCown Gordon are in the top 2. So I guess I need to decide on who the third is.
that was my.
It's kind of how I looked at it, but if I'm wrong, let me know.
My thoughts too. I think everybody agreed those 2 were the top ones, and if we want a third one,
I like Kendall.
I guess the discussion from my point of view is between Kendall and Icon for a third one.
So starting with me, I had Kindle as my number 3.
Commissioner Ford, who'd you have in your top 3?
I had Kendall as my top 3.
Yeah, I had Kendall and Icon tied for the third one.
Kendall was number 3 for me.
I think Kindle and MCP.
I had Kindle and Icon.
Same with me, Kendall and Icon was third.
I had Kendall as 3.
Okay. And again, I had Kendall and Icon. I could see both ones.
So we need to pick one because only the third one gets to present in the next
Sounds like
phase.
Kendall seems to be this the-
That's what it sounds like.
More
It's the lean.
No matter what I thought.
Did you have any dad?
Not really. I kind of had icon a little higher and I can't. Going back, I'm not really sure which one they, some of those were. It was more in the project approach and the financials where they kind of one went over from the other.
Yeah, that's,
And so
yeah, I would see both of them.
I could see both of them. They were both equal in my mind, but if I had to narrow them down, that's why I went the other way. But it sounds like to me, the majority here was a Kindle for 3 and
Yeah.
we'll send out those.
Unless there's further discussion, if I can get a motion from the board to approve those 3 as the ones that make it to the short list for the phase 2 of the selection process, and invite them to submit requests for proposals.
Okay, so we're strong on all 3 of those, that's right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Guess what I'll do then is go ahead and make a motion to approve Kinder Construction, McGowan Gordon and BHS to, I guess, the second round and are invited to submit requests for proposal.
Yes, and so I apologize, I don't have a request for proposals prepared for you today. I was working on that this afternoon, tomorrow, and hope to mail it out to you tomorrow. For comments and I'd like to get it out Monday.
We really think we need to get it by
I know,
Monday.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
That's the plan. I just. A couple of the other projects came up on top of this, and this is where I felt I could lack. So that's my goal for today, is to get the proposals done, sent to you for any comments. I know
We can look at them over the weekend.
When you say proposals, request for
the request for proposals.
And then
The
they will-
document
they
that
will-
we'll send out to
and
these 3.
and the board's motion was that they would be selected to respond to that
Yes,
request.
yes. But I want you to see what I'm sending them before I send it to you.
No, that's fine.
And we'll set up. I'm assuming I have it in the schedule of events to do a on-site pre-proposal conference. If that's something I think we need, I don't know. I'll have to reach out to a couple and see if they desire that.
Or maybe that's a question that we asked in the proposal itself.
We can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can make that happen. To let them know if they need one, we can have one. And then interviews, I'm trying to squeeze it in before Christmas. And then make our decision right after the first year.
I think we gotta make this process a priority, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not that it's not a priority to me, and I just wanted to make sure the contractors had time to prepare and give us their best.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that, but we can't be too short, because then they're not gonna be able to get something put together.
Yeah. John and David, you'll work with Kyle closely on
Yes,
this
yeah,
process
just
as well.
say Kyle's gonna be
Okay.
maybe he's seen more.
He sees more than these than we do.
And
If I could just say, I really appreciate everyone putting the effort in to look these over and think about them beforehand. You might be surprised how often I get to these meetings and it feels like nobody's even looked at the proposals or anything beforehand. So I really appreciate you.
I will tell you, to my sorrow, they actually read everything I get.
And all 3 of them have construction background too, so it helps in this process as well.
We have a motion.
Okay, I would second the motion.
Been moved and seconded to approve of VHS, Kendall and McCowan Gordon to go through the proposal stage. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks everyone for your work on it so far.
Thank you for
We're not done yet.
work so far.
No.
At this stage.
so after you get this copy of my request for proposal, if when I get the schedule, look at the schedule and let me know which day maybe will work best for an executive session for an hour. And I can lay that out in the schedule.
Look also for blocks of time available on the commission calendar with Cindy K.
We're just gonna override that.
I'll let you tell Cindy K that.
Yeah, that's a bold man.
Did you say? We're gonna override Cindy's schedule.
You know, she's kind of small and quiet. I'm just scared of her. I'm scared. Yes.
So you
No,
want
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's not.
that?
Yeah. What do we?
Do you want these, you want these back to get back
I
to
do
them?
not need them back.
So
Did
the
we just toss
ones we didn't approve?
I have an electronic copy of all of them, so.
I mean, everybody puts enough time and work into this.
I would maybe suggest hold on to them until we're done with the process. You might want to reference back to that as you look at the interviews and the proposals.
Okay.
That's what
Well,
I'd
you're
recommend.
talking about the ones that we didn't.
I would still say that
You might
because
still
you
want to go back.
don't know, you might get questions from them going forward and we don't know if one of these three or two of these three wouldn't back out for some reason. We'd be back at the drawing board. You just never know what can happen.
I've got space for you.
Then I'll respond.
That's true.
Kyle? Got a second?
Yes.
Thank you for coming over to take the help.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Appreciate your effort.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me be involved.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Travel safe.
Drive home, yeah. No, we move along. That's a good, yep, good.
Yeah, it's a big step.
Mhm.
Big step.
I would have just a couple final summary points here. I just feel a little bit rushed here, particularly on the funding side, because I keep hearing things about funding, about ARPA funds and what may or may not be moving forward. So the process it seems to be maybe we need to hurry a little bit, or maybe I'm just overthinking it. I do have the ability to do that on time, but
Just remember, the money's in our possession, so it's not like we're waiting on the funding.
right.
Yeah, and we've got to what, 24,
26.
24?
At the moment we do, but I'm hearing that there could be some changes to that structure.
Yeah.
I would,
I don't think so. I think
if Sean, you're doing due diligence and working on it and the process is well on its way, that you're safe. I'm not concerned with the funding leaving. I'm concerned with the amount of funding we're gonna have to use.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think we picked the right process at this point in time to hopefully accomplish that.
Yeah, for sure.
But time will tell. Okay. Well,
And
good.
I think it's a great project to use that money for all of our constituents for benefit.
And for future.
For generations,
Yeah.
So just building what we had to have right now, this allowed us to go for, this one, the long run, long-term plan.
Yeah,
It's actually one I would call an exciting project.
I agree. Well overdue as well.
Okay.
Any other business commissioners? All we have is unofficial business, Mr. Ford.
Oh, yeah. I guess it's Thursday, isn't it? Man, did I see the line on this game at 7.5?
We knew you would know.
Yeah.
We were like, what's that?
7.5
For us or them?
for us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is unheard of going into Morgantown. But then again, you got to consider what's happening at West Virginia right now. They just fired their AD, which pretty means their coach is, let's face it, pretty much gone. Of the 4 coaches that were hired at that point in time, Les Miles, Neil Brown, Matt Wells, and Chris Kleiman, season's end, there's only going to be one left. I'll let you do the math.
No matter if they're
So
showing.
does the team play out the rest of the season for their coach, or do they not play out for their coach? That would be a interesting tidbit to this game.
One DB already in,
Mhm.
announced its transfer.
Mm, 2 quarterback recruits have already backed away, so probably not a good time to be a Mountaineer fan at this point in time. Good thing's basketball. Oh, wait a minute, no, I don't work either.
Questions there now.
Yeah, I like this game. I like the matchup. We seem to play better and more calm and cool and collective on the road than we do at home for some reason. I haven't been able to figure that out either. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think, 1 o'clock game. Yeah, I'm just
they're
like
gonna
that.
be having some bad weather in West Virginia too this weekend.
So they are.
Yeah.
That benefits our offense.
Yeah,
Supposed to be cold.
cold and maybe rain.
At least our
and
guys should be acclimated.
Yeah.
I think, I'm gonna go over on the spread on this one. I'm gonna say K-State wins 31-21.
You just come up with the number. I've got mine written down here already. And he comes up.
Well, you'd be amazed at how good his eyesight is.
No. Well, I had 31-17.
Yeah, sir.
Well, I think it'll be closer than that. I had 39-33 K-State.
Clancy.
30-26.
Craig.
State.
What's that?
30-26 K-State.
I have 27-24 written down.
Right.
We seem to struggle in Morganville, no matter which team is what.
I think they're hitting their stride. And
I
West
hope.
Virginia's.
I really like the Greens healthy. That makes it huge. You could tell a difference in Green that last game, even from the previous game. The previous game, he was just kind of going through.
He was out there, but he wasn't.
Yeah, but the last game he was flying again, and people were paying the price. So,
And what that also does, believe it or not, is it forces the offensive line to have to take him into consideration. So you can't double team Felix on the outside.
Yeah.
Or Duke on the other.
We've got a whole bunch of people to watch for now.
And West Virginia's offensive line isn't really that good.
Savage is a loss.
Yeah, but you've got Cheatham, you got a couple other people that can fill in okay. Martinez isn't gonna play, so your whole offensive game plan is gonna be centered around Howard, which may not be a bad thing, I guess. I don't know.
And he's a better runner than people give him credit for when he has the
He's
base.
bigger in size, so.
We can't afford for him to get hurt though.
No, I don't know if I put my faith in Rubley to take over at that point in time. But
Well,
we are in a good
next game.
Yeah, I know. We are in a good spot though, having four experienced quarterbacks if you count Deron Lewis, who actually has game experience. So you wouldn't be throwing somebody brand new in there and letting a handshake like the dude from Oklahoma State. Horrible. I feel bad for the kid.
I did too.
So,
I did too.
yeah. Just hope for a win.
As long as we get a win.
Yeah. Okay, well, I don't have any other business.
Me either.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we adjourn the November 17th meeting of the County Commission.